Trustees, I'll call the meeting to order. Wow, that was fast. Must be a lot of teachers in the crowd. Trustees, call the meeting to order. Looking for any declarations of interest? Seeing none. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms a part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. I would now ask that Northern Dancer Public School lead us in O Canada. Could we please stand? Thank you very, very much. I'm going to ask Trustee Ashley Noble to introduce our guests today.
It's my pleasure to introduce Northern Dancer Public School's Northern Fury Intermediate Band. Some of the members of the band today have only been playing their instruments for about 6 months, which is absolutely incredible. The name of the director today is Stephanie Matten, and there will be 3 pieces we will be hearing: When the Saints Go Marching In, First Light, and Field Theory.
trustees, we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. There is no extra item to add tonight. Could I have a motion to be able to approve the agenda? Trustee Edwards, Trustee Templeton, all in favor? It's carried. We have 4 sets of minutes there, trustees, found through pages 1 through 29. Are there any errors or omissions or additions or subtractions from the attached minutes? Seeing none, if I could have a motion to approve all 4 sets of minutes. Trustee Lundquist, Trustee Thatcher, all those in favor? That's carried. We'll now move on to our next edition of This Is My Story. Tonight's edition of And This Is My Story features Principal David Robson, who's principal of Dr. S.J. Phillips Public School in Oshawa. David shares his story about his own challenges at school as a young boy and the impact that teachers had upon his success. The story is indeed inspiring, as it truly shows how staff make a difference in the lives of students and how Principal Robson now impacts students in his school because of the difference educators made in his life. This is my story.
The biggest challenge, I think, for myself growing up is basically experiencing the education system. For me, I'm not a traditional type of learner, so sitting in a classroom in rows and taking tests and working off worksheets didn't work for me. Most people may not know that I was born in Montreal. I lived there until I was about 14. For grade 7 8, went to a private French school and moved to Scarborough just before grade 9, and that was the best experience I could have had in my life. Met a lot of great friends from different places around the world, and has really had a great impact on me throughout my life. You know, I was the first one in my family to go to university, although the expectation was always there. Even though elementary school and high school were not conductive to my type of learning, we pushed through because we know that was the expectation. So the support of my parents, support of my family was always there. So I was very lucky in that regards. Favorite subject growing up in school was definitely mathematics. Math always made sense to me. The numbers just always seemed to fall into place. As much as I loved it, I just became disenfranchised with it kind of inside of a classroom. Far too often in elementary school, teachers would ask me to stop answering questions, allow other people to do it. So instead of enriching my experiences, give me other rich tasks or open tasks to kind of work on and keep my mind going, more often than not, they asked me to just be quiet and sit in the corner. So, you know, after a number of years of doing that, I became bored and I basically just shut down. I stopped answering questions. I did math for myself, but gave very little back to my teachers in the classroom. Very often, basically from kind of grade 1 through as long as I can remember, the same comment would always show up on my report card. You know, David's very bright, he's very smart, but he doesn't apply himself. And it was difficult to apply myself in those types of settings because they weren't engaging to me, they weren't interesting to me. For me, sports and athletic kept me in school. I did not sit well in a classroom. I did not achieve and learn like the regular learner. I was very kinesthetic and I didn't get that feedback in class. So for me, the one thing that kept me in class until the end of the day was knowing that I had athletic ability and the ability to go and play sports after school and to make those connections with my teachers and my mentor. In high school, I had a couple of teachers that really had an influence on me, one more particular than all the rest. He was a mentor. He was a coach to me in wrestling and rugby as well, but he really saw the spark in me. He knew what I wanted to do. He knew that I wanted to be a teacher, and he really helped to keep me focused on what I wanted to do and what the end goal was. I vividly remember at the end of my grade 13 year when I won the Academics Athletics Award, him coming up to me and mentioning how proud he was of me and how he couldn't wait to have me working on staff. So he would save a seat for me at the staff meeting so that we could work together one day. He really had a huge impact on myself, my learning, and who I am today and where I am today. Without having that connection to the school and that engagement outside the classroom, I don't know that I'd be here where I am today. Without having those mentors and those teachers inspiring me to continue towards my dream and to keep working towards my goal, I don't believe I'd be here. One of the great ironies of education is the longer you stay in it, the more interesting it becomes. My best experiences in school were in high school, where I was allowed to get up and be active and engage myself within the classroom, but equally so outside of the classroom. I think the best schools work well because they're focused on academics, they're focused on rich and open tasks, but I think they also create a community where they engage students outside the class, whether it's athletics, whether it's the arts and drama, whether it's just clubs. There's a sense of community with the school. The students know that the teachers are there for them, and then they excel and reach beyond their potential. I know that with my staff, when they engage students with their extracurriculars, they directly see a benefit to their students, and by getting to know their students outside of the classroom, they get to make those different connections and foster those deeper relationships, and those relationships transfer back into the classroom. When I speak to the students that come to my office, I can speak to them in a different way than I think other people can. I understand when they have difficulties in class because those are some of the difficulties that I have. I understand when they don't connect to what's going on in class because those are some of the same difficulties that I had. I understand when they don't learn the same way as people around them learn because those are some of the difficulties that I had. And hopefully when I have those conversations, they understand that it's coming from the heart, that it's coming from a place of understanding, and that the advice that I give them hopefully rings a little bit truer because they know that I've walked down that path. I've often said to my kids and my parents and my teachers that sometimes the skills and the characteristics that don't make a child fit into the elementary school system, high school system, are very often those characteristics and those skill sets that will make them successful later on in life. I'm not one to sit still. I can't sit through meetings. I can't sit in my office. So physically I get up and I'm on the move all the time. I'm in the hallways. I'm in my kids' classrooms. I'm out on the yards. I'm making those connections with kids. So, you know, the detriment that may have gotten me in trouble in elementary school is that skills and that ability to kind of be up and be moving all the time that really helps me make connections with my kids and hopefully makes me a better leader in my school. My name is David Robson. I'm the principal at Dr. H. Phillips Public School, and this is my story.
Thank you very much for that. Again, another inspiring video, and knowing the excellent work that Principal Robson does at Dr. S.J. Phillips as well. Indeed, he cannot sit still, so that's a good thing. So, we're going to move on to item number 9. There are a couple of ministry memorandums that Director Miller would like to be able to introduce to us.
Just a brief update in terms of the ministry and the information they provide and direction to us. Unfortunately, we are still waiting for the technical paper to support the analysis of the GSNs. It has still not been released yet, and we await that because it is an impact and analysis on our budget moving forward. And secondly, today the ministry announced the new Ontario curriculum, grades 9 to 12, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit Studies 2019. So new curriculum is being released from this government. We are expecting new math curriculum at the beginning of September. Training will take place in the fall by the ministry and of course by the Durham District School Board as well. Those are all the updates.
Thank you very much. I know there was one late in the day that talked about the investment of $7.35 million in being able to help school boards find cost savings. So I'm sure that will be discussed at the next board meeting as well. So thank you for that. I'm going to move right on to 11B, presentations. I'm going to ask Superintendent Mohammed Hamid to introduce the Durham Black Educators Network presentation.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Barrett. The report can be found on page 30 of your package. The purpose of this report is to provide trustees with information on the And Still We Rise conference for secondary students. This powerful event makes visible the commitment of the Durham District School Board to establishing conditions for engaging with the Black community and working together towards ensuring equitable outcomes for all of our students. The And Still We Rise conference is designed in partnership with the Durham Black Educators Network, a grassroots organization with a mandate of optimizing and operationalizing the educational experiences of students, educators, parents, and community members of the Black African diaspora in the Durham region. This conference is part of the ongoing year-long strategy to ensure that the Black identity thrives within the DDSB environment and learning spaces. This year, the 9th annual conference was held on Monday, March the 4th at Ajax High School. The theme of the conference was Cultivating Courageous Change, the Revisionist's Journey. Please join me in welcoming the chair of the Durham Black Educators Network, Cheryl Rock, to begin our own mini journey through the experience of the conference.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Before we begin, I'd just like to express our ongoing gratitude for the support of Chair Barrett, Director Miller, all trustees, and our senior administrative team. We're so grateful for this time to share our stories and to share our learning for this year. So bringing the gifts that our ancestors gave, we'd like to start off with our ambassadors who will share a piece that they have created which really embodies the vision for And Still We Rise. So we want to thank again Danielle Martin. She's a senior student, grade 12 at Maxwell Heights Secondary School, and Kara Walker, who is over at O'Neill. So we thank, I know. Kara Cocker. I like to call her my favorite artist name, which is Kara Walker, actually. So Kara Cocker is over at O'Neill, and we thank them once again for their leadership, and they're two of our leaders who have been instrumental for the past few years in all of the work that we are doing. As we move forward, we really want to embrace the concept that we are activating student potential, and our focus really takes us to programming that connects to the following pieces: engaging voices, empowering leadership, and expanding spaces. And realizing from our sessions that when our students see themselves reflected and supported as leaders, they will increase their capacity to contribute to positive school climate and culture. The impact of their engagement in the And Still We Rise Ambassador Leadership Program will experience through increased sense of belonging, well-being, and engagement within their schools and communities. And as we move forward, we've noticed a true pattern and trend in student engagement, and we borrow from the 3 dimensions of student engagement by Wilms, where we really look at these dimensions in terms of social, intellectual, and academic engagement. So contributing to aspects of the school that not only create positive experience for themselves, these students have had experiences that they can share with their peers, and that they can increase ways to be productive in terms of all of the areas mentioned in terms of social, intellectual, and academic engagement. And in terms of engaging through the programming that they've received, one of the key highlights is the inter-school networking that has been experienced as our ambassadors represent schools throughout Durham region. They come together for a 7-month training period throughout every year, and that it really ignites their ability to express their goals, their strengths, their concerns, reflecting experiences of peers throughout the region. And shared through anecdotes and survey feedback, we have seen that students feel empowered to self-advocate, seek more academic challenges, and reach back to mentor peers and younger students. At this time, I'd like to turn the mic over to Jennifer Seif, who is our media coordinator for DBEN and one of our Instill We Rise committee members.
Thank you. So in response to data collected from current and former ambassadors, our programming, we are meeting the needs of our students through culturally responsive practices, and we cannot do this without student voice. So what we are doing, we are utilizing digital technology to leverage their voice and to make sure that they're able to build a community of practice in which they could come together, they could represent the same ideas, same norms, and same goals. Students partner with our Instill We Rise Conference Committee to inform the direction of their sessions and ultimately to shape the conference experience for their peers. Transformation of experiences that students have value, and their voices and their experiences are heard, and we want to share them with you. The students that we represent, the students that show up, the students that participate are all involved in what they do. They co-create, they inform, they also make the decisions that lead to them being leaders at their schools. They have takeaways, they have plans, they have a vision that they share with us, and we assist them in making that possible.
So just in terms of the logistics of the conference occurs on one day in the month of March, held annually. In terms of pre-conference activities, students are actively involved in organizing and preparing for the actual conference day. They are focused on leading workshops to their peers to ensure that the peer-to-peer connection that the students who come to the conference have offers them an exceptional learning opportunity. We often will have a keynote speaker every year, and this year was one of our past students in the program and of the Durham District School Board, Lincoln Alexander Estridge. We also include a gender-based panel and offer the opportunity for our students to participate with community role models who activate learning through a mentorship capacity. They participate in the afternoon in a gender-based panel where we have role models for females and males who are able to connect with students about the experiences that they have during their own journey. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the impact from a data perspective about our programming, both quantitative and qualitative. The program has been running for 9 years. It has become very highly successful in our school board. On the screen, you will see a number of different ways that we have included a number of data items that speaks to the ways in which we are broad-reaching across the region. Annually, we have about 10 to 15 secondary schools who participate in the program. Each year, there is ongoing involvement in the community by our students who are ambassadors in the program. They go on to be student trustees. They go on to participate in the student trustee process. Up until this point, over the 9 years, we have engaged over 1,900 students from across the region, from Pickering all the way to Oshawa and including the north. We have had 140 student ambassadors from a variety of our secondary schools who have participated in the Leadership Development Program in the 6 to 8 months preceding the conference. Each year, we continue to show excellence. Our students continue to show us excellence in their achievements as a result of the learning that they've done in the program, but also from their own individual development and affirmation. Each year, at least 2 of our ambassadors will go on to win scholarships and awards at the Activating Student Success Awards ceremony, which was just recently held on May 9th. And finally, we also see them go on to continue their excellence and leadership aspirations at the school level, striving to be involved not only in school prime minister opportunities, co-curricular workshops with their peers, providing safe space for conversations with their peers without judgment, and also continuing, as I said, to be involved as community leaders. This is part of the vision for our Instill We Rise programming and our Instill We Rise ambassadors. Our ambassadors, each who have joined us this evening, would like to provide an impact statement about their own learning and gains through the program. I'll call up Kiara first.
Through this program, I have learned to become comfortable in my skin and be able to step out of my comfort zone and be able to take risks and be involved in my community.
Hi, I'm Danielle, and through this program I have learned what it means to fully be a student, what it means to be great. I've learned to come out of my skin as well and take risks in school, learn different things, and be excited about learning.
So at this time, once again, we just want to thank you for your ongoing support. Our ambassadors really are implemental in informing what we do every day and every year. And with truly responsive programming, I'd like to leave you with a quote, which is also something we've included as part of the messaging that you'll see on their t-shirts and things like that. So from Donovan Livingston, from his poem Liftoff, at the core, none of us were meant to be common. We were born to be comets, leaving our mark as we crash into everything. So thank you so much for your time, for your support, and have a good evening.
And that is our report, and we would be happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you very much for coming forward, and especially Danielle and Kira for being able to share the artistic and message that you started with, plus also being able to share the impact as well. Recognizing that this type of program just doesn't happen, but I also recognize and congratulate the leadership that continuously comes forward as well in yourselves in being able to make sure we put this together. Sitting here at the board for a number of years, the change has been dramatic. The number of courses that are being offered is dynamic, and indeed, you're not common for sure. You definitely are at least 3 comets that continue to be able to come back all the time. So any comments or questions, trustees? Not seeing any. Thank you very much for sharing your stories. And again, thank you very much for your leadership. It's duly noted and appreciated. Thank you. Trustees will move on to English as a second language, and Superintendent Mohammed Hamid. It's back to you, sir.
Thank you, and thank you again, Chair Barrett. The report can be found on page 32 of your package. It is once again with great pride that we bring to trustees the second in a series of presentations on the evidence of the impact of the changes to the ESL, English as a Second Language Department, undertaken for the 2018-2019 school year. In our initial report, we spoke to the experience of a newcomer family based on these changes, and today we are going to discuss the experiences of a student in one of our schools. As our director often says, diversity diversity is our strength, our future, our journey. And our population of English language learners has risen and continues to rise dramatically here in the Durham region and the DDSB. To strengthen our model of service delivery for English language learners and their families, the English as a Second Language Department instituted a number of structural changes to serve this growing population. And today we will hear about and see some of those changes, specifically the work to conduct those initial assessments, to build teacher capacity through a co-planning, co-teaching, and mentoring model of support, to embed culturally responsive and relevant practices, to the design of ongoing professional development, and our continued support for newcomer families. I would like to now introduce Erin Elmhurst, ESL Officer, Maureen Verhoog and Karen Fry, our ESL Facilitators, to speak about these changes and to share a video of the student experience in our schools.
Good evening, and thank you so much for having us here this evening to share with you. As Superintendent Hamid introduced, I also have Facilitator Karen Fry and Maureen Verhoog here with me today. I also have the team from Westland Public School, their ESL coach, Anita Ferreira, and one of the teachers there that will be highlighted in the video today, Philip Ferravante. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see a little bit more from them and their experiences in the video. The ESL department is committed to serving newcomers and Canadian-born English language learners and their families. ELLs come from diverse backgrounds and bring a variety of experiences to our schools. They have a variety of strengths and needs. The work we do directly connects to DDSB's strategic equity priority. We work to ensure equitable outcomes for all of our English language learners. We have recently restructured the support model to be responsive and to focus on these factors and the increasing number of English language learners in the Durham District School Board. We've been doing so by moving towards a coaching model of support, and that's really what we're going to be highlighting for you tonight. Tonight we'll be looking at this model and the impact it is currently having on student achievement, particularly in Westland Public School.
So newcomers to Canada. Newcomers here refers to immigrants or refugees who have recently arrived to Canada, usually within the last 5 years. So over the past 4 years, the number of newcomer students whose first language is other than English has doubled in the Durham District School Board. Our Canadian-born ELLs, well, many of them are raised in families and communities where a distinct cultural tradition has been maintained and where languages other than English are primarily spoken. So for these students, English is an additional language. So due to the significant increase in newcomer and Canadian-born English language learners, the ESL department instituted a number of structural changes to better serve this growing population. So one structural change has been the implementation of the ESL coach model, within which the reallocation of existing ESL staffing generated 9 elementary ESL coaches this year, supporting 75 schools, and 5 secondary coaches supporting 10 high schools.
So the coaches are conducting initial assessments for newcomers as they arrive to Canada, and they share that information with teachers and administration to guide and support programming. They build the capacity of the teacher through co-planning, co-teaching, and mentoring a model of support, suggesting some strategies, accommodations, and modifications, and supporting the teacher with that implementation. As well, our coaches are embedding CRRP into all lesson design and planning. And finally, our coaches are providing ongoing professional development that is responsive to the school's needs. The video we are about to share highlights the impact the ESL coaching model has on further supporting teacher capacity as they assess and program for our English language learners, as well as the impact this model is having on the achievement and well-being of English language learners. The team highlighted in the video is from Westland Public School. Today we have Philip Fioravanti here as our teacher representative and ESL coach Anita Ferreira. They'll be here to answer any questions you might have at the conclusion of the video.
morning, staff and students. This morning, we have Iqbal with us to continue learning our Urdu greetings.
This morning, we're going to start with the greeting, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Well done. Our next greeting is, how are you?
Aap log kaise ho? Would you please say that with Iqbal? Aap log kaise ho?
There's been many great impacts in the coaching world this year. I've been able to work with staff in implementing the STEP document, encouraging them to understand how to break down curriculum to meet the needs of our learners.
I've been teaching for 10 years now, and I thought I had it all figured out. So between teaching a regular classroom and then getting kids with IEPs, depending on how they learning disabled, autistic students, and now with ESL or ELD students, it has been a big paradigm shift for me. So I felt completely unprepared. As well as I thought I was teaching, and as much as I thought I knew about how to teach different styles and different people, I honestly, upon reflection, didn't really know much about teaching ELD students. Having a coach come in and do one-on-one support with me has been incredible.
The ESL coach supported me through my learning because she showed me how important it is to use my first language to help the students in our school. She showed me how much of an advantage it was. For example, there was a girl who wanted to participate in something and she knew her parents wouldn't let her. So I spoke the same language as her. So I went and I talked to those parents and I explained to them how valuable extracurriculars are. The next day she came and she told me how much she appreciated what I did for her. I feel much more comfortable teaching ELL and ELD learners now, and I felt like having her with me, and if I could continue to have her with me, would be amazing because I appreciate it so much and I feel so much more at ease when I have her there.
It has been eye-opening, to say the least, to see all the things that we haven't learned in our education system or that's not being covered in our professional development courses. And having somebody come in and work with me has been incredible, and it has really changed my practice and has enabled me to reach these students in ways that I wasn't able to reach before.
I like about Westland, I have a lot of friends and I have good teachers. They help me how to learn English and French. I get to speak Somali in this school because there's other people speak Somali that are the same country as me.
We've also seen a great improvement in the use of technology, using translate programs, using Google Read and Write. Our students are very engaged, but equally our staff are using the technologies within their classroom at a much more comfortable level.
So initially I didn't feel comfortable with my practices, and then I met the coach and she showed me how to use Google Classroom, embed Google Read and Write. She also showed me how to use visuals in my learning and also how to simplify the language within the questions that I created.
My teacher and my ESL coach helped me with giving me a laptop and showing me how to use the translation and know the meaning of the word and teaching me how to use talk and type.
The coach has been really helpful by helping me better understand my students. When we're working one-on-one with students, using tools like Google Read and Write, adding documents to Google Classroom that are more beneficial to the students with those needs. So I will post something, for example, for the general population of my students, and the coach will help me post things in more friendly language for my ELD students.
I look forward to working with my colleagues next year to see continued growth in the ESL program.
So we'd like to thank you very much for allowing us to share with you the impact the ESL coaching model has had as we work together to support equitable access to education, information, support, and service for our ESL students and families.
Thank you. That is our report, and we're happy to take any questions.
Any questions, trustees? Trustee Thatcher.
Yes, thank you very much. Just a question around assessment. Is the assessment for these students done on the report card? Is there some additional assessment as well? And who would be responsible for that?
There are a number of assessments. So when an English language learner first enters our system, they experience an initial assessment, which is conducted by our facilitators and coaches, which provides background information for teachers to program effectively. So that is used to guide the programming. Students are also placed on a step continua. So there are 6 levels of step, which then also guides programming. So some of our English language learners have accommodations, and some of our English language learners have modifications. If they require modifications to their program, that would be documented on the report card and indicated in the comments. Does that answer your questions?
Yes.
Seeing no further questions, I'd like to again thank you very much for coming forward to be able to present tonight. And I think the line of the night for me was, after 10 years, I thought I knew everything. So my line is probably after 40 years, I thought I knew everything. So, but I appreciate that openness. And Anita, obviously your enthusiasm and success as a coach obviously comes through very loud and clear, but I recognize that that doesn't happen without being able to have leaders being able to help pave the pathways, to remove barriers and create the programs. So thank you very much. I think it certainly uplifts us in order to be able to see how we can meet the needs of our children at the place that they're at, no matter where, what school they're from, what country they've immigrated from, but also being able to recognize that every single student is an individual who deserves and demands equity in opportunities. So really thank you. And Anita, your enthusiasm is overwhelming. So thank you for that. So appreciate it. Trustees will now turn to Superintendent Anne-Marie Leginski, who's going to talk about structured transition and pathway planning.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Barrett. The report is on page 35 of your agenda package this evening. The Student Success Officer, Kim Stewart, and the team will be highlighting the supports and pathways available to students and their parents and guardians as the students make those important and often life-altering academic decisions at each transitional stage of their academic career. Grade 8 to 9, grade 10 to 11, and finally, as the student leaves secondary school to another destination. The team will be referencing the following resources which you have before you: Choosing My Success, Refining My Pathway, and Designing My Future. I will ask Officer Kim Stewart to introduce the team.
Thank you, Superintendent Leginski, and good evening, everyone. As previously mentioned, my name is Kim Stewart, and I'm a centrally seconded secondary school principal and the Durham District School Board Student Success Lead. I'm here this evening with 3 of my facilitators, Nicole Dollaby, Denise Sturton, and Jennifer Parrington, to highlight for you many of the structured transitions and pathway planning opportunities available to secondary students in the DDSB. We know that education directly influences students' life chances and outcomes. In the DDSB, we are continuing to focus our direction for intentional pathway planning to secondary school and beyond, appreciating that it is our core student success beliefs that guide the work that we do and the multiple opportunities that we are able to provide for students, their families, and our staff. All students can be successful. Success comes in many forms, and there are many pathways to success.
The transition to secondary school is an important, life-changing, and direction-setting event for graduating grade 8 students. In the past 2 years, with the implementation of Choosing My Success, all students transitioning to high school have received multiple system-generated resources, as well as engaged in diverse experiences with their transition pathway counselors and future high schools, with the overarching goal of ensuring that all grade 8 students transitioning to grade 9 take pause and make thoughtful, evidence-informed grade 9 pathway choices to reach their individual potential. As our transition pathway counselors continue to further enhance the implementation of Choosing My Success in each of our intermediate classrooms, our secondary students, with the support of their guidance counselors and careers teachers, received new system-generated transition guides this year that were made available in both hard copy and online. Refining My Pathway is the new student transition guide that supports student pathway planning for grades 9 and 10s as students look ahead to the more self-selected and individualized programming opportunities offered in grades 11 and 12. Designing My Future is the new system-generated transition guide for grade 11 and 12s as students complete their high school journey and begin the process of committing to their initial destination after earning their OSSD. From grades 7 to 12, students are continually guided and provided programs and opportunities to consider our Ministry of Education's 4 career life planning inquiry questions, from creating pathways to success. Who am I? What do I want to become? What are my opportunities? And what is my plan for achieving my goals?
While in high school, Durham District School Board students have multiple and diverse programming opportunities across our region to support their refinement to the answers of those 4 inquiry questions. Each of you have received a copy of our annual Student Success publication, Pathways to Student Success. This comprehensive resource provides students, families, and schools with information on a wide range of opportunities for individualized pathways to enhance student success. These various focus programs provide concentrated pathway options in particular fields of interest or training. They provide students with comprehensive and relevant academic and practical experience to prepare them for their initial post-secondary destination. This guide highlights over 100 of our DDSB focus programs available to secondary students, a few of which we will highlight for you now. The Academy for Student Athlete Development is a unique high-performance athlete program in partnership with the Ability Center that is designed for student athletes in grades 9 to 12. These select student athletes receive individualized athletic and academic support as they strive for success at provincial, national, and international levels of competition. Students attend their home school for half of the school day and the Ability Center for the other half of the day. Student athletes complete a formal application outlining their academic and athletic backgrounds and achievements and must be nominated and/or verified by the relevant provincial or national sports organization to ensure they meet high-performance eligibility. This program allows our DDSB ASAD high-performance athletes the opportunity to build strength and conditioning, and in some cases, sport-specific technical training into their school day in order to support increased sport-life balance while representing Ontario and Canada on the field, ice, or track, in the gym, or in the pool.
Good evening. So one of the goals of secondary schools is to support high-quality learning while allowing students the opportunity to choose programs that are suited to their skill and interest level. Cooperative education provides students with a wide range of rigorous learning opportunities which are well connected to communities outside their school. Participation in co-op can lead to transformational change and experiences they will remember throughout their lives. It allows them to gain real-life experiences and reflect on those experiences, to grow an understanding that can shape their own future before they leave high school. Examples of work placements that our students participate in is, for example, Lakeridge Health, Durham Regional Police, Rogers TV, veterinary clinics, dentists, local restaurants, construction companies, and daycare centers, to name just a few. All students can benefit from participating in cooperative education, and this year we have 1,700 secondary students are scheduled to earn over 3,000 cooperative education credits. In partnership with the Ministry of Training, College and Universities, better known as MTCU, we have approximately 500 students who participate each year in an apprenticeable trade through cooperative education in one of Ontario's 4 skilled trade sectors: construction, industry, motor power, and the service sector. Each year, we have a number of grade 12 students who can partake in the accelerated OYAP program during their second semester grade 12. It is a highly competitive program, and they actually apply for this program when they're in grade 11 and go through a rigorous interview process to be selected for the program. Students who are accepted to this specialized program attend college-level training 2 to 3 days a week, and also in addition, they attend an employer within that trade, so they're getting the hands-on work experience as well as college level 1 training before they even leave high school. After graduation, students can continue with their apprenticeship or pursue a post-secondary diploma or degree program. This semester, we have 75 students earning their level 1 apprenticeship in one of the following trades: automotive service technician, carpentry, child development, cook, electrical, welding, plumbing, millwrights, hairstylist. I'm very excited also to announce that we have already confirmed close to 90 spots for DDSB students, acceptances for the accelerated OYAP program for next year. Thank you. As you know, we are experiencing a huge shortage of skilled labor nationally. It is predicted that we'll have a 1.4 million shortage by 2025, with 40% of all the occupations will be in the skilled trades. With that in mind, we work diligently in student success to provide students, staff, and families with opportunities to learn about career pathways in the skilled trades. As you can see from our the PowerPoint there, we host many trade nights where we invite parents in to learn about the skilled trades for their children. We just had one at Anderson where we had 200 parents come out for an evening to learn. We also do summer camp, college tours, and hands-on experience, as well as trade skill days and competitions. Programs like Co-op and OYAP provide rich, authentic learning opportunities for students and allow us to inform and educate parents, communities about the need for skilled trade, thus hoping we reduce the stigma around the skilled trades. In Ontario, there are over 150 skilled trade pathways that can lead to a very lucrative and rewarding balanced career choices. This is very exciting because there will be good paying jobs for our students after high school. Thank you.
Good evening. The School College Work Initiative is a cooperative effort between local partnering school boards and colleges to assist students in making a seamless transition from secondary school to college through the delivery of dual credit courses. This year, we have over 1,300 grade 11 and grade 12 students beginning their college transcript while still in secondary school through a dual credit course that is either college delivered or team taught. College delivered can, of course, be delivered at the college or at the school. We are partnered with Fleming College and Durham College and offer over 60 courses this year in everything from drilling technique to cook, sheet metal, welding, mental health and addictions, psychology, business, and electrical at no cost to the students. Of special note, this year over 200 students will finish their high school diploma in the Centers for Success program on a college campus at either Fleming or Durham College, where they will have earned at least one college credit free of tuition, had full access to all college recreation, academic, and health services, as well as received free public transportation and waived application fees to any number of college programs of their choice. Many of these students are some of our hardest to serve and have already left high school without their diploma. This highly successful Centers for Success Finish Line program, year after year, changes students' life trajectories and increases equitable outcomes. SHSM is a pathway destination program with 5 key elements required for grade 11 and grade 12 participating students. One key element is a sector partner contextualized experience that allows them to deepen community partnerships in an inquiry framework. You may have recently seen in the local media the news article about the kangaroo shelter that the construction SHSM students at Maxwell Heights recently constructed for the Oshawa Zoo. A provincial Ministry of Education Student Success Initiative, students completing all 5 elements in their sector earn a Red Seal SHSM designation on their OSSD diploma at graduation. As a basic overview, we currently run 64 different SHSM programs in 18 Durham District School Board secondary schools with over 1,700 grade 11 and grade 12 students enrolled. This past winter, over 400 DDSB elementary and secondary students competed in over 50 regional skills qualifying competitions across the GTA at sites including Humber College, Durham College, and Loyalist College. Many of the secondary competitors are also those SHSM students. Just this month, 34 students from 8 DDSB elementary schools competed in 8 separate contests, approximately 6 hours in length, at the Provincial Skills Ontario competition elementary level. Also, 40 students from 11 DDSB secondary schools competed in 30 separate contests ranging from 7 to 14 hours in length at the Provincial Ontario Secondary Skills Competition. If you've never been to the Skills Ontario Provincial Competition at the Toronto Congress Centre, please consider joining us next May in over 500,000 square feet of action, inspiration, demos, and skills with over 2,400 competitors, 35,000 spectators, and 70 skilled trade and technology contest areas in everything from carpentry and brick masonry to plumbing, welding, 3D animation, fashion, hairstyling, baking, culinary, graphic design, photography, robotics, and precision machining, and I could keep going. We are pleased to congratulate our Durham District School Board provincial medalists this year who earned 1 provincial silver medal and 5 provincial bronze medals. As board lead for our secondary regional, provincial, and national skills team, I cannot emphasize enough the commitment of each of our teacher coaches to ensuring our students are prepared, supported, and capable of competing at this level. It is by far the highlight of our year in student success.
At this time, we'd like to thank you for allowing us the opportunity to highlight a handful of our structured transition and pathway planning opportunities and focus programs that are available to secondary students in the DDSB, and we're excited to share this brief celebratory video with each of you now.
Of Star Wars coming there, but then I thought I shouldn't say that, I'd be showing my age. So any questions, trustees? Carolyn, I was going to assume you had something to say about the skills major, so I'll let you go first.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Barrett. Firstly, I commend you for the work that you do, and I would like to share a message with everybody here, and that is in regards to the Ontario Skills Development. So a mom of one of those Prince Albert students immediately sent me a message, and for those of you who love math, you're going to love this message, because her message is this: amazing teachers plus amazing kids plus high expectations plus fun plus commitment plus perseverance plus relevant curriculum equals success. And in brackets, she said, and the positive use of our time and our money. She also went on to say that this was a truly inspiring and rewarding experience for everyone involved. And I second that completely. So for those of you who haven't gone to Ontario Skills, I say next year, let's go. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Morton. Trustee Edwards.
Thank you. This document, especially as far as the pathway to success, has just come leaps and bounds and is a fabulous resource, and I've heard nothing but the best from parents and students as far as this resource is concerned. I have a question around, because you did mention that 40% of the jobs that are going to requires trades, and the numbers keep on climbing. How do we decide which trades and which special schools, high skills majors to actually start supporting? How do you go about doing that? Is it around partnerships that you're able to develop here? Because there are other trades that might not be available here in Durham region. I'm thinking more, I know we've got a drilling program, but mining, there's a huge deficit there. And how do you go about establishing those partnerships?
Hi, Trustee Edwards. I'll speak to the SHSM program, and then my colleague Denise can speak to some of the youth apprenticeship program opportunities that are available, because both are connected to the skilled trades. So when it comes to determining the best placement for SHSM programming, it is a collaborative effort regarding the community readiness, the community demand. We gather a lot of research from the Durham Workforce Authority, local labor market data. We use iwin.on.ca to determine further information. And then, of course, the other piece of that is the school community. It is what parents, what students are asking, are saying that we are ready for, are saying that we have interest in, as well as the school overall readiness of the school team to provide that. Again, I cannot emphasize enough that it comes down to the teachers and the ability to provide that kind of level of specialized training. So it's really important that we have our technological education teachers in place for a lot of our SHSM programs. Not all SHSM programs are technological education based, but to have that enhanced learning, that higher level learning, is important that we have those teachers in place. So when we grab all that data and we collect it and we look for what is the best placement for which SHSM at different schools. So it's really a community and school driven decision. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I think for me, looking at skilled trades, one of the important things is knowing what our community needs are. So it is partnering with OPG and understanding the trades that are in demand right now, boilermakers, welders, and they have the refurbishment going on for the next 10 years. So there's work at the Bruce plant, there's work at the Darlington plant. So really knowing they're bringing 4 new GO stations to this area, that's going to create 3,000 jobs. So we know we need construction. So really connecting through the Chamber of Commerce, understanding what's going on in the region, in the building sectors, that really drives our skilled trades.
Supplementary, Don Edwards.
Yes. You mentioned about getting community input and parents. And one of the issues that I've heard from the students is that there are still parents out there that only see the pathway to university and that's what they lead them to, and not necessarily There's the stigmatism around trades. So what do we do? And I know we have one session that is very focused to that, but what do we do to bring the community in the various areas to actually come to that realization that there's a need in their community and that there are other job opportunities other than going through, post-secondary from that perspective. So what do we do to the parents to bring that up?
I'm working. But one of the important things is to hold events, definitely. And I've been doing that over the last year. As I just said, we had over 200 that came out to Anderson. I was also invited over to Pickering, Hydro, and also Darlington, and different areas to bring parents in and really connect with them and explain the different pathways. And they seem to be very hungry for the information. So again, it's getting out into the communities, getting out into the schools, so those conversations can happen around the dining room and get those changes.
Thank you, Trustee Edwards. Trustee Miseret? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think this document is phenomenal, especially the pathways to student success. I know as a student myself, if I had seen this when I was younger, I think it would have definitely helped direct in a path, and I think a lot of students really take from this. My one question is referring to career cruising. Are these two by any chance linked? The documents found, this document, do they pertain to one another? Or are they?
So is pathways linked to the career cruising?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Yes, within career cruising and the IPP, because of how that program and what we choose to offer through the program is, it is accessible to students. So there are some course planners out there where really it is just about selecting courses. Within our version of career cruising and having students from grade 7 to grade 12 work on that IPP, they have multiple opportunities. You might have remembered doing those matchmaker type questions in the career building explorations that lead to more in-depth knowledge about career pathway options and schools that offer them throughout Ontario and Canada.
That's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. And again, this is really phenomenal.
Great. Seeing no further questions, thank you very much. I know I recognize this because this continues to evolve. So that's great. It's always obviously refreshed, but it also continues to be able to enhance. It gets thicker and thicker all the time. And then these two, I think, are ones that are fairly new in the arsenal. I could be mistaken. I don't think I've seen these before.
They're new.
Oh, great, good. So I do appreciate these as well, just being able to go through those. I know we continue to be able to enhance the choice. I know it's been something that trustees have talked a great deal about, parents have talked a great deal about, and this just continues to be able to enhance that methodology by which students can have choice and map out. So I think that these, again, to echo our student trustee, they're excellent resources. So I'm past career cruising, I'm retirement cruising, but I think from those individuals it certainly helps, and appreciate that and the work and dedication that's gone into this, not only from you four, but also through the leadership of Anne-Marie Leginski as well, overseeing that. So thank you very much for coming out tonight. Going to go to Trustee Morton for the report to the Committee of the Whole in camera.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Barrett. The board approved the actions of the Committee of the Whole in camera, and we discussed appointments, personnel issues, property matters, as well as other things. Associate Director of Operations and Leadership will bring forward an administrative report regarding those changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Morton. A report was brought forward to the board around the placement, around the promotion of principals and vice principals. It was approved, and that information will be shared electronically with the system this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Morton, and thank you very much, Associate Director. We're next going to move on to the Director's news from the system. Director Miller.
Good evening, trustees. I'm happy to bring you a great deal of good news from across the system because we have been very busy. I was honored to participate in 2 official school opening events in April and May. On April 9th, Northern Dancer public school students showed us how they are unleashing the global champion within through outstanding dramatic and musical performances. They also showed us how DDSB's strategic priorities are an integral part of their school community. On May 1st, I also attended a heartfelt and memorial school opening at Viola Desmond Public School. It was an honor to meet members of Viola Desmond's family, to hear a special address from Senator Wanda Thomas Bernard, and to see our amazing students perform. McCaskill's Mills Public School responded to an open invitation for students to sing the national anthem at the Harlem Globetrotters game in Oshawa. Students in the school's concert band and junior choirs joined together to sing and perform O Canada. R.S. McLaughlin student Gracie Cook has been selected to be a page in the House of Commons for the 2019-2020 school year. She was selected out of approximately 400 applicants based on her essay on Canadian patriotism. In September, she will begin her studies at the University of Ottawa, studying health sciences in French immersion. Not to be outdone, fellow R.S. McLaughlin student Mylin Putinen is the recipient of the President's Scholarship for the Faculty of Engineering, also at the University of Ottawa. The President's Scholarship is one of the most prestigious scholarships offered by the university. It's awarded to one student in each faculty whose work and commitment provides an exceptionally good reflection of the university's objectives. Mylin will be receiving $30,000 over the course of 4 years to support her academic endeavors. Congratulations to both Gracie and Mylin on their awards and accomplishments. On May 2nd, students from across Durham gathered for the DDSB's 5th annual Poetry Slam. Ajax, Dumbarton, and Pickering High Schools, along with GL Roberts and O'Neill, all brought teams and fans to compete for the coveted Poetry Slam trophy. This year's event showcased the most talented spoken word artists. Dumbarton High School were the crowned champions. Female students, staff, and community members gathered together at Brooklyn High School on April 11th and Anderson CVI on May 2nd to celebrate female empowerment and confidence building. Both girls' nights events offered inspirational guest speakers, fun and interactive booths, and a delicious catered dinner for attendees. Students enjoyed art therapy, karaoke, team building, and much more. A new and improved website was launched at the DDSB on April 25th. This site is packed with great and new improved features such as easy calendar integration for parents and guardians, and it is more mobile friendly and AODA compliant. It is also very searchable, trustees, something you've all asked for. It also features our latest Twitter and Facebook posts on the home page. We are now working on the redesign and the launch of every school homepage, which is scheduled to be done the end of June. This has been a 3-year labor of love. We reached out to our DDSB parents, guardians, and staff on how to improve our Ignite Learning strategic plan and vision, and we are very excited to use Thought Exchange to retrieve and analyze the results. Thought Exchange is a dynamic online tool that engages users to share and review ideas anonymously, as well as rate the ideas of others. Trustees and senior staff will be using the input and consultation in our planning for the 2019-2020 school year. Hundreds of former students and staff members returned to Thora Central and Beaverton Public Schools for an alumni celebration on Saturday, May 4th. It was an opportunity to reminisce as the 2 schools will be consolidated following the construction of a new building on the Beaverton site. On Saturday, April 27th, Durham Black Educators Network hosted the 8th annual And Still We Rise Elementary Conference with the support from the DDSB. Community members attending were treated to a rousing keynote speech from motivational speaker, producer, and artist Sean Morissette, who engaged the audience with a presentation tailored to the conference theme, Be the Story. To celebrate South Asian and Asian Heritage Month, Durham Educators Network for South Asians, DENZA, and the Muslim Educators Network for Durham MEND hosted a student voice conference at Roberta Bondar Public School on May 2nd. Students in grades 7 to 10 heard from keynote speaker Anjali Joshi, and participated in workshops where they discussed how to address racism in their schools, embracing their identities, and shared personal experiences. On May 8th, the DDSB Education Center held the first ever Secondary Students Mental Health Symposium. The event invited teachers and teams of high school students from across the region to help make the uncomfortable comfortable by creating awareness and reducing stigma around mental health. On May 17th was International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia. The Durham District School Board's Equity and Inclusive Education Department teamed up with PFLAG to invite students in their school's Gay Straight Alliance, GSA, to be part of the Reflections of Me conference. DDSB LGBTQ students and allies enjoyed sessions including songwriting and queer and drag history. Keynote speaker Shawnee empowered our students through her music, and EndNote speaker Max Denley shared his journey of perseverance and self-discovery. Applecroft Public School hosted their first ever Diversity Day on May 1st. Students jammed along with musician and human rights strategist Chris D'Souza. They attended various cultural and identity workshops. Pride Prom was held on Friday, May 3rd at the Jubilee Pavilion in Oshawa. Over 120 LGBTQ youth and their allies had the opportunity to celebrate prom in a place free of discrimination and homophobia. This year's theme was Glow, and the youth had a fantastic time dancing, enjoying chocolate and mocktails, and free transportation was available across the Durham region to ensure those who attended could attend. On May 10th, the DDSB hosted a Shabbat celebration to recognize Jewish Heritage Month. DDSB students and families attended along with members from Chabad, B'nai Shalom V'Tikva, and Beth Zion synagogues. It was a wonderful night to celebrate Jewish heritage and identity. On May 15th, over 850 community members comprised of DDSB students and families joined us at J. Clark Richardson Collegiate Institute to participate in Iftar, the breaking of the fast as we celebrate Ramadan. On May 9th, it was announced that Maxwell Heights Secondary School is one of 22 schools in Ontario to receive the 2018 Dr. Betty Stevenson Recognition of Achievement, which is presented by EQAO. This year, they are celebrating schools that supported students' passion, which led to academic success in math. And we'd like to congratulate the administration, and I know Superintendent Maliha is bringing a report later to celebrate this success. Also on May 9th, we were excited to host the 7th Annual Activating Student Success Awards at Henry Street High School. Again, the Durham Black Educators Network was happy to organize this year's ceremony as we highlighted the achievements of our Black students in the DDSB. Bolton C. Falby Public School invited students, families, staff, and community partners to their Make a Difference community event on May 9th. The free event showcased community services available to families and included a barbecue, raffle prizes, and tons of free giveaways. On May 2nd, the Equity and Diversity Committee held an evening on culturally responsive practices to support diverse identity of our students. Many partners welcome parents and students to discuss curriculum and culturally relevant pedagogy. On May 6th and 7th, 32 elementary and 40 secondary DDSB students put their skills to test at the Ontario Provincial Skills Competition. From baking to hairstyling to robotics and much more, our students were skilling it. In total, DDSB students brought home 5 bronze medals and 1 silver medal. Congratulations to all of our incredibly hardworking students, and let's take a quick peek at their video. would now like to take the time to announce the upcoming retirement of Superintendent of Education, Anne-Marie Leginski. I have personally worked closely with Anne-Marie for many years, and she has been an amazing colleague and friend who has shown great leadership, outstanding knowledge, a work ethic unbeatable, and a human touch and compassion when collaborating with students, staff, and fellow administrators. Anne-Marie, thank you for your hard work and dedication over the years. I know your retirement is the end of August, and we'll talk more about it later. I refused to accept her retirement, but she kept putting the letter on my desk. And we wanted to let the system know that she has announced her retirement. Way too young, too. There's a number of dates of significance coming up. May and June just get incredibly busy, but by the length of the Director's Good News report, you can just see that amazing things are happening, and our students and staff are absolutely incredible. Thank you, trustees. That is my report.
Thank you very much, Director Miller. We're going to move on to recommended actions. Trustee Morton, the report from the Standing Committee, May the 6th. You can push the button. Stop.
You will find my report on pages 41 through 46. You will also see that there is a motion on page 41. Maybe you would like to address that.
Yes, so out of that meeting, there is a motion that the board establish a Code of Conduct ad hoc committee for the purpose of examining bylaw number 12, school board member trustee code of conduct. I know that my esteemed colleague, Trustee Crawford, is going to ask when, and we're looking at dates in September, Paul. You saw all those dates on that Director's News report? That's why it's not going to happen until September, the first meeting anyway. So we are looking to that, to be able to have a seconder for that motion. Trustee Crawford, and is there any conversation to that motion or questions? Seeing none? I know, I was kidding, Trustee Crawford. Go ahead. Go ahead, Trustee Crawford.
Yes, it's a lengthy document, so we should start reading it now and editing it so that we'll be prepared in September.
Thank you, Trustee Crawford.
You're welcome.
Are there any further? No, nothing. And all those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? Okay, that's carried. Continue, Trustee Martin.
I have nothing else.
That's your report?
That's my report.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll have a motion to receive the May the 6th report from the committees, please. Trustee Forbes, Trustee Templeton, all those in favor? That's carried. Trustee Donna Edwards, going to the SEAC meeting minutes of March the 21st.
You can see the minutes from March 21st, starting on page 47. Just a quick note that of many committees that are still haven't been reestablished or restarted, as one is the Ministry Advisory Committee of Special Education has not started. There's quite a few members that have actually had left, and they haven't been appointed and don't know what the process is, which was pointed out in the PAC and SEAC letter just then. Anyways, that is my report, Chair Barrett, and I don't think I should really move it since I wasn't there. I was at the World Summer Games in Abu Dhabi.
So you don't move it, but someone else who wasn't there is going to move it. So do you see a conflict in that?
No, Christine can move it.
Okay, Trustee Thatcher, you'll move that report?
The SEAC March 21st meeting be approved.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Trustee Crawford, any further conversation, questions to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's carried. Next, we're going to move to the information item, which is Coronation Public School and RH Corners Public School Gifted Program Boundary. And we'll turn to Associate Director David Visser.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The report can be found on page 64 of tonight's agenda. It's hard to believe that over the last 10 years, the Durham District School Board has adjusted likely in the range of 70 school boundaries, and that we need to look at more, but it continues to exist. On Table 1 on page 65 likely explains the situation the best. We have a catchment area within the township of Scugog that is sent to Oshawa. So if you live in this small section, you would go regular program to a Port Perry school, French immersion to a Port Perry school, and for regular French immersion and gifted at the secondary level, you would go to Port Perry High School. It can best be explained when you look at page 67. And you can see the boundary for Coronation Public School goes right up to Coates Road. And on the adjoining page, page 68, you can see that there is a section that for the for the French immersion and the regular boundaries would go to Scugog. What staff are suggesting is that there are no students currently in this catchment area, but due to a transportation question, we do know that there will be a student coming into that area. So staff are, in the meantime, making that small section a dual zone. In the fall, we'll run a full boundary consultation, and this summer, we will actually overlay all of our boundaries on top of each other to make sure that we don't have any other small anomalies like this. Mr. Chair, that is a report. Delighted to answer any questions trustees may have.
Trustee Morton.
Thank you. And through you, Chair Barrett, I just want to say thank you for reviewing this boundary. This makes a lot of sense to me, and it makes a lot of sense to my community, so thank you.
Thank you. As noted, Associate Director Visser, this is going to come back in the fall with a full consultation process, so we'll review this again when it comes back with the recommendations, etc. So thank you. We're going to move on to the update on the education development charges. Again, Associate Director David Visser.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'll refer trustees to page 70 of the report, section 2.1. The ministry conducted a May the 3rd teleconference in which they provided boards with some additional information surrounding the EDC process. As outlined in 3.1, the ministry option to deny the acquisition or expropriation of a school site. In 3.2 on page 71, you can see that boards can use EDC to fund alternate projects, and 3.3, which is on page 72, the board can enter into a localized agreement. Certainly, there are plans underway by this government. We are to understand from this teleconference that there will be legislation later on in the year. The implementation date, as outlined on page 70 of the report, apparently is November the 1st of 2019, and we await that legislation coming forward. In the meantime, what I would like to say to trustees that's found on page 73 and in another section within the report is that the Durham District School Board, as all the boards in the province, are constrained in the increase that we can allow for over the next 5 years. Our charge will be $2,249 rather than $11,876. And what that does is, at the beginning of this current EDC term, which is May the 1st, the Durham District School Board had a $13 million deficit in our EDC fund. By having a lesser rate that is constrained by the legislation from the government, this deficit will increase by $55 million per year, if not more, depending upon site acquisition. So that is my report, Mr. Chair. Delighted to answer any questions trustees may have.
Any questions, trustees? I have one question, Associate Director. The number that you're quoting, the $54.5 million per annum, that is based upon your growth projections and the amount of schools and property that we're going to need over the next 5 years, correct? That's where that number is coming from?
That is correct, Mr. Chair, and it's actually even a projection a little bit beyond that, as outlined in our EDC process. The Durham District School Board over the next 15 years will require $1.289 billion worth of properties. That's just the first year of the process. So certainly you are quite correct. There is more properties behind that, and depending upon the availability of those properties, this amount could be even more than $55 million, which is, I think, what your point was.
Thank you. Trustee Nikki Lundquist.
Thank you, Chair Barrett. Associate Director Visser, I was going to say I'm struggling, but I don't think I am struggling, actually. I think that the problem is pretty clear on its face. So I've reviewed this document, and it indicates that the government has suggested we could use money for alternative projects, none of which seem feasible for our board. Am I wrong about that, or am I reading that properly?
Through you, Mr. Chair, back in 2003, I did conduct an alternate funding for a project in which the excavation, the remediation of the school site would have cost in excess of $1.5 million at that time, and actually a school that was under my department's area, we actually built the school on caissons, which was not allowable technically under the EDC fund, but at that time the development community allowed it because it was a far cheaper version than to remediate the site. So there are opportunities that we can look into, even though we might not have an underground parking garage or the need for a pedestrian bridge.
Okay. May I have a supplementary, if that's fine, Mr. Chair? My second question is related to Chair Barrett's question about the $54.5 million. So we're talking about a need for, I think you said $1.78-ish billion. Has there been any suggestion that alternate funding will be flowing in light of the huge deficit that we're looking at?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there has not been any indication from the Ministry of alternate funding. It just revenue containment while costs continue to escalate. So at this point in time, other than the COSBO working group that is outlined within this report, staff are not privy to the Ministry's perceptions of future EDC charges.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lundquist. Trustee Paul Crawford.
Yes, on the deficit, we can't legally have a deficit as a school board, so how is that handled? If it's $13 million, does that go to an envelope with the government, or does the government cover it, or how do we cover it?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through to Trustee Crawford. Technically, in the Education Act, school boards cannot run a operational deficit. The EDC process, I believe I described to trustees in the past, is this $13 million deficit is technically a cash flow funding shortfall. So the ministry is obligated to make sure that we are funded for that $13 million and whatever amounts it accumulates to in accordance with the Educational Development Charge legislation.
So it's something that we're not paying anything for. In other words, it doesn't cost us like a debt cost.
Through you, Mr. Chair, any interest charges that are accumulated during this process and the resulting borrowings that we have to undertake are also costs that can be as part of the deficit, so it does not affect our operational bottom line. I would say that it is my understanding under the current legislation that we'll not be obligated to any part of this, but I would await for the November 1st legislation. I don't anticipate any change to that, but it'll be interesting to see how we can curb a cash need like site acquisitions without significant adjustments.
Thank you.
But to that, Associate Director, that $54 million a year, and so let's take it over the lifespan of, let's say, this board, potentially now having a $213 million deficit, give or take, for someone who doesn't really like math. What that does is shifts that debt from the provincial government, but just shifts it to the board. It's still owed by someone for the purchase of property, but it just shifts it. So it's not going to necessarily appear on a deficit for the provincial government. It's just going to be enveloped over in the school boards, recognizing that we're one of the fastest growing school boards and will likely see the most growth. But is that the methodology by which it's going to be accounted for on a provincial basis?
Through you, Mr. Chair, conceptually, you are correct.
Really doesn't do it, just shifts it.
It just shifts it.
Okay. We still owe the money. Our grandchildren are still going to pay for it. Just going to shift it to another place. Okay, that was my understanding. So, okay, trustees, that was for information item. We do have correspondence there if there's any desire of any of the trustees to be able to bring any of that forward. Trustee Morton?
I would just like to speak from the Terry Fox Foundation, because I find it extremely commendable that we have many schools who have participated in the Terry Fox Run for more than 20 years. Some have even participated more than 30 years. I think the longest running was a 34-year participation rate. We have 6 schools that have raised more than $100,000 and 1 school that has raised more than $200,000. I think that that's remarkable, and I applaud all of their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that forward. Just want to go back, Associate Director, to page 79 of your report. Trustee Crawford has pointed out, I just want to make sure that there are some recommendations found, or is that has already been passed? And I just want to, I'm seeking clarification in Appendix A on page 79. There's 2 recommendations. I think that was part, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was part of the other report. I'm just looking for clarification.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the question. Appendix A was the Durham District School Board had 1 joint meeting with the Durham Catholic District School Board and 1 separate meeting on our own to review the educational development charges bylaw. That meeting, which occurred on April the 10th, had the 2 motions that are found on page 79, which the board approved at a special board meeting for the EDCs at that point in time. That report is just being brought forward to regular board tonight, along with the teleconference adjustments that the ministry made on May the 3rd. So the trustees, through official board, it's been noted and are up to speed on where we stand with EDCs at this point.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I think that was that 8-minute board meeting that we had that night in order to be able to pass those motions.
It was a delightful board meeting, yes.
Yes, okay. No, I appreciate that for the clarification. Okay, trustees, seeing no other business, I am looking for, oh, sorry, didn't see the, Trustee Lundquist.
I just had a question about the letter that's on page 126 from, I can't actually read it because I don't have glasses, I think it's the Waterloo Region District School Board, with respect to full-day kindergarten, and I don't know if I missed a discussion about this or whether we've had a discussion about this. So the Waterloo Board appears to be asking for our support to, in whatever way we deem fit, to support full-day kindergarten, make sure the ministry is aware that we are in support of full-day kindergarten.
So just to clarify, Trustee Lundquist, you're looking to be able to support that or not support it? Is that what you're...
I am looking to support that.
Okay, because I know we can certainly do that. We can certainly write a letter on behalf of the board supporting that. And at the will of the trustees, I would suggest that the full-day kindergarten, although this letter comes on April the 29th, there has been some commitments, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can't continue to be able to reinforce the need for, and just looking for consensus and the will of the trustees, because we can certainly bring that forward. Just looking for consensus, so this is consensus. So, okay, good. Okay, we will do that. We will draft a response in support of that as well.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's why the correspondence is there, so that you can bring it forward to be able to either support or not necessarily not support, but it's there for information. So,
appreciate that. Thank you.
Seeing no other business, I am looking for a motion to adjourn. Trustee Thatcher. Thank you, trustees. Not sure who all our guests are in the audience. We don't usually have this many people at the end of the meeting. Are you student teachers? Is that what you are? Excellent. What about this side to the left? Student teachers as well?
Wow.
Excellent. We look forward to you joining our board in a full-time capacity as soon as we make sure that the funding models are there to be able to continue to support those very important teachers in our classrooms. So usually we go till about midnight, so you got lucky tonight for sure. So thank you very much for joining us.